Good morning, everybody. Back with you on a Saturday. And I want to do something very original for me, anyway. I want to share with you a subject that has, I don't know, through the years I've thought about this and wondered how this can be remedied. I want to talk about preventing a church split. These things happen more often than you are aware of. Church splits. They are devastating, or they can be devastating to a local body. Sometimes it takes years for a church to recover from a church split, depending on how devastating it is. But do they always have to occur? That's what I want to share a little bit with you today. I've got some very practical things and just want to throw them out there, see what you think. First point. We are all flawed vessels. Would you agree with that? None of us are perfect. We all have things that we're dealing with, issues, sins, whatever you want to call them. And there is no such thing as a perfect church. I remember meeting up with a guy that I had known and hadn't seen him in a while back in the early 90s. And I said to him, have you settled into a church? Have you found a church? Because I knew he had left several looking for one. And he said, Mike, I'm looking for the perfect church. And I said to him, if you find it, it will no longer be perfect because you will be there. Now, he didn't like that, obviously, but I was trying to make a point to say that we're all flawed vessels. We all have stuff. And if you think you're going to go into a church and never find any problems, it's not going to happen. You will find problems. A lot of times when we go to a church in the beginning, it's a honeymoon period. Everything's wonderful. The worship, the word, the leadership, relationships, it's great. And then some time goes by, maybe 3 years, we'll say. And you begin to find things that are wrong in that particular church. They were there all the time, but you had blinders on and you didn't see any of these things, and now they're made known to you. And the question is, what do you do with them? Well, there's two things you can do. You can not deal with it. Well, that's just the way they do things here, and I just need to comply. Or, depending on what the topics are, what the issues are, you feel led after much prayer, much prayer, to go to the leadership and share some of these things that you feel are detrimental to the growth and the life of the church. It would help if you had relationship with the leadership. You just don't go in there like a bull in a china shop, destroying some things. You go in prayerfully, and hopefully you go in relationally, and you share your heart. I encountered a church split in 1981. I was a 4-year-old Christian, not along in the Lord by any means. One of the people that had disagreements was a good friend of mine. But there weren't a lot of people in this one. There was only about a dozen people. But still, you could sense something wrong. And I was kind of left in the dark. I think they all wanted to protect me, even the leadership. Nothing was said publicly or privately to me, even when, you're like, well, where did they go? They're not coming around anymore. And they probably wanted to protect me because of my youth and inexperience. So I kind of was in the dark. Eventually, everything came out. And usually, there is disagreements with two parties. We'll say the eldership and maybe one or a group of people that have come together. The important thing in this is communication. Communication can be a key to prevent a church split. Again, after a lot of prayer and, going before the Lord with this, and you feel led to share some things. You need to be honest, be open, listen to them, and the pastor and the elders, same thing. Be honest, open, listen to the people who are in disagreement. I heard it said one time, there usually is some truth in every criticism. But what happens a lot of times, we get defensive. Our flesh stirs up, and we want to defend ourselves, our position, or whatever. That usually is not a good posture. So say you meet together, nothing is resolved, and someone says, I'd like to talk about this again. Let's meet together in a couple of weeks. Again, more prayer, and the sides come together, and again, there's nobody giving any ground here. So what do? In a situation like this, I think it's important that you're going to agree to disagree, but then there's also the matter of, am I meant to stay here? Again, how big are the issues? Are they pretty big that you just feel like you can't stay? Or are they minor, nitpicky things that you probably can get along with? So that's point number 3. Number 1, we're all flawed vessels. Number 2, communication can be a key to preventing a church split. If you can't come to any kind of an agreement at all, this is what you need to do, and you feel like you need to leave. Keep your mouth shut and move on. Now that's going to be hard for some people to do because, again, they want to make their points known. They become defensive when challenged. The thing is here, the best thing to do to prevent a church split is to keep your mouth shut and move. And if people say, what's going on? How come I haven't seen you? Blah, blah, blah. You need to say, the Lord is moving me on, which is a truth. You're not lying, but you're not giving detail. A lot of times we want to go around and tell people our disagreements, our contentions, maybe to see if others see what we're seeing, side with us. That is not good. What you're doing there is you're creating a church split. I think there's the proverb, Proverbs 6, the last of the 7 things that the Lord hates, one who spreads strife among brethren. So, don't give details. Don't go into a lengthy thing about why you're leaving. Maybe the pastor might say, usually not, but he may say, why don't you get up and say goodbye to the people? Tell them the Lord's moving you on. I would advise you not to give any details. Don't stir up strife, but this is a way of closure. I've done that as a pastor with people who felt like they had to move on. They weren't in agreement with something. And I gave them the opportunity, if they had the character, to get up there and not get into a lot of details. So, and whatever you do, don't take other people with you. Maybe you've shared some things, and then other people are like, well, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to move on. Well, I'm going to go with you. No, you're not. I don't want you to go with me. You stay and be a blessing to this body, because they don't see what you see, and they're not meant to. The Lord is not directing them to go with you. A lot of times we pull people with us, and that isn't good. So the leadership, has a perspective. You have a perspective, and they're miles apart. Keep your mouth shut and leave. A church split is like a divorce in a family. Never good. Mom and dad don't love each other anymore. They're not getting along. The kids see it, and there's tension and strife and, disharmony. That's like a church split. You've got a pastor a person or maybe more in disagreement, and the children, if I can say it that way, are the church. They are the ones who take the brunt of this. Kids always take the brunt of a divorce. And a lot of times I've heard they blame themselves for their parents separating, which is not the case, but they own it. So that is the equivalent that I can see to a church split, a divorce in a family. One of the best stories I ever heard preventing a church split came from a friend of mine. He was at the time, this is many years ago, pastoring a church on the West Coast. He knew from talk that a couple of his men, I don't know if they were leaders, elders, or not, were in very much disfavor with him, his policies, where the church was going, all that kind of stuff. So one Sunday morning, after worship, announcements, before he's going to share the word, or maybe it was after, I'm not sure the sequence of time. Maybe it was after. He gets up and he says, brothers so-and-so are going to be leaving us after today, and they are going to be starting their own work, a ministry, a church, whatever. I want to give opportunity for anybody to join them if they feel so led. And these two guys, who are the principal, people that disagree, are looking at each other like, I can't believe he's doing this. They're on the spot. They're not given a microphone to say anything. And the pastor says, we're even going to give them an offering today, and we're going to pray over them, lay hands on them, and send them out to do what God has called them to do. How's that for a story? So these two guys, what are they going to do? He calls them up. They come up. He prays over them, lays hands on them, says, any of you, again, if you feel led to join these two brothers, come on up now. We'll pray for you. We'll send you out. Not one person got up. And then they took an offering, which to me is total grace. I think they collected $200-$300, something like that. Give it to them. Let this be a start for your new ministry. And then he dismisses the people. These two guys are looking at each other like, what happened? Did this really take place? I can't believe this. And everybody moves on after some fellowship time. I don't even know if he said people came up to him to say goodbye or what, but they never came back. How could they? After a scene like that? That always encouraged me that there are ways to prevent church splits. I mean, that's pretty drastic. That's pretty extreme, radical even, but it worked. But I think knowing there's no perfect church, we're all flawed individuals, communication, as much as is possible, get everything out in the open, not with an attitude, not with a I know better than you mentality, but just say, I'm really disturbed by some things. Use key words here in a pleasant way. And then if there's no agreement that can be reached, we just don't see eye to eye here, keep your mouth shut and leave. You'll be doing that particular church a great service. You will not pain the heart of God, and you can move on. Maybe the Lord has something for you much better than you currently are experiencing. So I just felt like I wanted to share that with you today. And maybe some of you will benefit from this in the future. Hopefully you're not in it now. You'll look back at the past and say, yeah, I was in one of those things 20 years ago. None of these things really came out. There was strife, contention. Maybe someone got booted out of the church, something like that. But I think we can, if we have the mind of Christ and the right heart attitude, come together and resolve some things. A good leadership team will look at the contentious points and say, is there any truth in this? And really pray about it. And I already told you the perspective of the congregants. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, preventing a church split. Hope it helped, and we'll see you next week. God bless.